guys, welcome back today. We're going to look at this Trinity Stamp Slimline Series Living Room Scene Builder die today, and we're going to make some really fun Father's Day cards. The other thing that I'll be using is this PhotoPlay set of paper from the National Parks Yellowstone collection, and one more Trinity Stamps item. It's their Cozy Bear die. This is a great add-on to the living room because it has so many different pieces that can be put in that living room. But the best part is this couch. I love the couch. I have played with this couch in a couple different ways, and I'll show you some of those, but also know that it fits a lot of other stamp sets. It definitely fits Lawn Fawn, and it's just a great couch to have on hand. So I started out with some pattern paper just to see what the couch might look like in a pattern. And then I also stamped some to color with the Copics. So I end up deciding that I'm not going to go with these pattern paper ones for this card. I wanted to show you what's in this pack of dies because there are so many little pieces, and it did take me a minute or two to figure out exactly what everything was. So I thought I would start out and show you the big die that you're going to start with. It has the floors, it has what we call wainscoting or some paneling on the back, and then it's got a big open spot at the top that you could put wallpaper in, put your windows. Looks very nice. It makes a great imprint in the paper that gives you some dimension. And then these two pieces, I thought this was just brilliant. So one of these is the quarter round that you see on the bottom of the floor, kind of where the floor meets the wall. And it's a very simple one. So just some dimension, just a strip cut out. But the other one is the top of that wainscoting or paneling, whatever you call it in your area of the country. And it has a few little lines in it that gives it just a little bit fancier look. I think that's so cute, and you could be used for so many different things. Next up is the rug set. This rug can be taken apart, but I didn't want to try to line these things up again. I'd rather just do that once I've cut them out. So I left them attached, and I would advise doing that if you have any trouble with your lining things up. But it comes in 3 pieces, so you could cut it in different colors, you could cut it in a solid color, whatever you want to do, or you could just make it different sizes. It's a very versatile piece, and I've needed a piece for a rug for my Lawn Fawn sets and other sets too, so I'm kind of excited about that. Next, I'm going to show you what the window does. So I saw on someone's video to leave this connected as well, and I see why you want to do that, because if you get that off, it's not going to make a perfect rectangle. So I left those connected to each other, and it makes this rectangle window frame. This is just cutting out the window and leaving the little cross in the middle so that you can see it. It does give you some of these little squares, and I held on to these because I thought these could be throw pillows or something else in your scene. So I held on to them just in case I wanted to use them that way. And then I used this big piece. I left it all connected because it has the most detailed pieces. They are so little. I love these frames that have lots of different dimensions. You'll see later on, I thought these also could make a really cool throw pillow, and so I did some fun stuff with that. They have several different pots for the plants and little pieces that you can make the dirt or just a darker color, and you can put them together in different ways. So I put these two together in my scene and just colored with Copics a little bit of brown at the top there where it doesn't quite meet, if you can see that. And it turned out really nice. The other one got a small potted plant that could go on a table or a shelf, and they send you lots of leaf options. So almost like a fern up there, and then other just random leafy parts. The other thing that I thought was super cute is that one of the leaves is actually a heart, and it's right there in that center part. Maybe hard to see. Curtains, these create some great dimension. I love how they're not just a cutout, but they actually create the dimension, which is just so cool. Makes it look really, really cool. So I'm going to show you some coloring of the couch. Ended up making 2 cards, so I did a couple of these. But one trick that I've learned over time is with having a lot of Copics, I always test them out on my paper and write what they go with. So I'm putting these on here one in case I want to touch up the paper later and I've put them somewhere else. But also just to remind me what I'm using and what colors I want to use on other things too. So I do that right at the top. And then I will get started coloring. I'm definitely going to speed the coloring up because that can be so tedious. But we'll start out with our lightest color and get going. I decided I wanted to go a little darker with the couch because I felt like it matched that National Park paper a little bit better. So start out with my middle green color, which was the G94, and add some G99 on top. I was going to use my lighter color to fill this in, but you'll see when I start doing this, there just isn't enough. It still leaves those markers. So I decided to grab a different one. I used YG67, and to me, it just filled it in perfectly. It looked great with these colors and made it less obvious that I was using that really dark color. I'm always hesitant to use super dark Copics because I feel like I'm not the best blender or Copic colorer, but this was my favorite couch that I colored. You'll see I'll color a blue one too. I just feel like it looks authentic and worn and exactly what a grandpa would love to have in his little man cave that I'm kind of building for him. So I took a little bit of this out and got you to the end here where you can see the final product. And I am just in love with this couch. I would love to have this in my house. I wanted to show a little bit of the blue coloring so you would know the colors that I used. I'm going to make myself a little chart on the side. I'm using all B colors, so B99, 95, and 21. I also wanted to point out that I tend to Copic color in areas that are not directly next to each other, so kind of adjacent. That way that when I'm using especially dark colors like this, I tend to really saturate the paper and sometimes it will bleed through to the other area. So I started with this dark with a light blue, putting some of my dark blue and going in with my medium color, which once again didn't really work. You can still see all of these lines. So I decided I would go back and just go completely dark and then use my lighter color to give it areas of distress. So I wanted you to see how I did that, and then we'll jump ahead to how we're going to finish these couches off. So next I'm going to move on to my favorite thing that I did with this card, which is to emboss with a die plate. So I didn't cut this, I'm going to emboss it. I felt like this Pink Fresh Slim diagonal stitched plaid die was a really cool pattern for a couch. So I'm going to emboss it on this. I did use some tape to hold it down because anything that has lines, I feel like you need to make sure that you get those lines even, especially when you work so hard coloring this card. I thought about leaving the magnetic part in there, but I decided I would remove the magnetic plate too and just make sure I didn't make too deep of a embossing in this. And you have to adjust you're only taping to a die, which sometimes is a little tricky. So just being very careful with your placement. Putting your embossing mat, notice I only have half of one because I messed it up, but I just did that. And then you put your cutting plate over the top, run it through once, and then you're going to see what this does to this couch, which just takes it up a notch. I love it. I'm so excited. And I'll do this to the green couch as well, just to give it a little bit of dimension. So see what you think about this. I hope you can see it really well with this light. Tried to freeze frame it for you so that you could look at it a little closer. But of course you'll see it on the final card too. So we'll move on to the stamping. So this next part, when I'm starting to stamp, you'll see I've already stamped 2 or 3 of these bears with nothing in their hand, and then I realized they have coffee cups and books. That would be great, especially for the grandpas. When doing this, these don't have their own separate die, so you do have to do some masking, which if you're not familiar with that, it's basically cutting out a piece of sticky paper that you can cover up part of the lines. You can stamp on it and then restamp the book so that you're not having that line of his belly going through the book. So the book, I will say I could have done this better. What I didn't think about is that my die for this was the bear sitting in the chair. And when that book sticks out past it, I ended up having to cut that one out. The coffee cup fits a lot better. The coffee cup definitely sits flush to the belly, a little bit better so you can cut it out with the die easier. So if you're still not familiar with how these masks work, when I take them off on this picture, you'll see how there's missing lines there, and you can line up your stamp to stamp where you're not having the belly lines go through that coffee cup or the book. So here's the bears that I colored. I didn't want to make you go through another coloring part of the video, but these little grandpas here look great, and I used the same colors as the couch. We're going to start working on putting our scene together. This floor I used Walnut Stained Distress ink. And I took some and kind of diluted it more with my splatters, and some that's a little bit more concentrated with those splatters, so it's all the same color. And then you're going to see me start using the PhotoPlay Yellowstone paper. I thought these colors were great for guys, but I also really liked this one that I picked for the wallpaper. I feel like it looks like trendy wallpaper, and since I've got my kind of trendy green couch and blue couches, I thought that this would be really cute. Okay, let's look at the setup here. I'm not going to go through every detail, but I did want to show you some of these things up close. I made a window, made a little outside scene with that, and then I was going to play with this frame and see if I could make some pillows. So started out with the green pillow and colored myself a little band. So I had to cut out 2 sets of these pillows, and I cut myself a little band that's the same color as the couch. And then I'm going to put them together and make it have even more dimensions to get on that little couch. All right, here it is. It's hard to tell that that's got that navy stripe unless you look at it close, but when you look at the other card, I'll definitely point out I did blue and gold for the couch cushions, and they were so cute. So this is the bear that's drinking some coffee. Thought he could use a lamp. The lamp comes from the stamp set and has a die, so you can cut it out. And then I just kind of work with this a little bit, figure out how I want to get it set up. So here's the final outside of the one with the blue couch. And then check out the one with the green couch. I want you to make sure you look at those pillows. I added a rug and a gold potted plant using my Uniball pen. So off screen, I die cut matching panels for the inside of the cards with the pink fresh slim diagonal stitched rectangles. And I also cut out this word happy from a Lawn Fawn die set. I wanted to jazz up these happies and make them have a little bit more dimension, so I'm going to add some distress ink to the bottom half of each of them. Started out with peeled paint on this green, but it actually needed something a little darker, so I changed that to forest moss, and it really made a difference in those. I loved it. I thought it was very cute. So same thing with the blue. I added a little bit of faded jeans and put that on there. Now I'm going to use my Misty and I'm going to stamp the rest of the sentiment. So I got the big happy, and then I have Father's Day that comes from the Long Fawn set. Totally awesome. I used this set just the Father's Day. That's the only part I needed. And I stamped it with Gina K amalgam ink, and it looks perfect on the inside. I repeated this process for the other card, and then I wanted to show you a couple things about really holding your paper down. When you've got this thick of a card, the Misty works great. I use its magnets to hold it in place and tight, and then I close the cover, let it sit there, and it seals up great. Thanks, guys. All the links will be in the description. Please take time to subscribe and check out some of my other videos.